Just say a few words. Uh, Basically, first of all, to thank all of you that are attending this session. And second, to just explain a bit why we decided to move with this session. So, as you know, we have been organizing ICEGOV for a long time, and we think that we recognize the value of ICEGOV, of the conference. And we recognize that all the editions that we organize, and particularly the days of the conference, are important for the community and enriching for the community. But we believe that we can do more regarding that. And we can even strengthen more the community with some, let me call this way, interim activities. So interim that is in between the different editions. Some of the activities that we think could be done, organized with this purpose. So with intention to happen in between the different editions and to strengthen the community are these kind of sessions. Today we will hear from João Carvalho about the reviewing process and about how to review papers. Of course, that the presentation will be particularly focused on ICEGOV, but I believe most of the recommendations and highlights that João will bring are useful for any conference and for a review process. So this is why we decided to move. Also, we received from an expression of interest of having this kind of session on the part of our local organizer this year, that is, Nigeria and entities in Nigeria. They shown indeed a huge interest in having this. So this is the reason why we decided to organize this session. And let me share with you that our intention is not just to have this session, is from now on to try to bring these kind of activities and to increase. Today we are talking about reviewing papers. Perhaps in the future we can have a session on how to write papers. And other interesting topics, I think, that we as researchers, we know that we have junior researchers, we have more senior researchers, but in any case, even for more senior researchers, it's always important to hear about this and use also this space to share experiences about this. So thank you very much again to all of you. From our side, we will keep planning this kind of sessions and see how we can bring them for the community, the ICEGOV community. And thank you particularly to João Carvalho that accepted our invitation to organize this session. Thank you, João. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Delfina. So welcome to this session on reviewing papers for ICEGOV. So this session is directed to the ICEGOV conference, and well, besides the explanation that Delfina just gave, I think that is important to say that ICEGOV has some characteristics that justify that we pay special attention to when reviewing papers for this conference. Okay, let's first say a little bit about the conference itself. Please focus on the name. So the International Conference on Theory and Practice of Electronic Governance. So theory and practice are important words. The words I would like to highlight now for this session. So this is an annual conference, an annual gathering that brings together around 300 participants. So it's not a small conference. It's not also one of those big conferences that involve more than 1,000 people. So it's, I would say, a cozy conference anyway, and that brings together a community that's know each other for a long time in many situations. And that one interesting aspect related with this combination of theory and practice is the variety of the participants. Academic conferences normally attract people from academia. In the case of ICEGOV, we see a longer list or a higher diversity of participants that are interested on sharing insight and sharing and debating insights and experience in the theory and practice of electronic governance, or perhaps, as we normally more recently start calling it, digital governance. So this conference has been created and is maintained and coordinated by the United Nations University Operating Unit on Policy-Driven Electronic Governance, so UNU-EGOV. Does, as you know, is headquartered in Guimarães in Portugal. UNU-EGOV is part of the larger United Nations University as a think tank for the United Nations in this topic of digital governance. The conference was started even earlier than the creation of the UNU-EGOV, and the first edition was in 2007 in Macau, China. And now the conference has been in 15 different cities in 14 countries and 6 continents. So you have here a list since 2007. So 2015, the conference has to be cancelled due to security reasons. In 2020, for the reasons you know, that thing that we should not mention, the conference happened online. So far we have this long list of editions of this conference. Conference page, generic conference page, you can see, you can have access to the past editions to each one of them. So far, and in terms of publications, so there are now 17 conference proceeding volumes published in the ACM Digital Library. So this means more than 1,500 papers written by more than 2,000 authors from more than 100 countries. Sometimes there is a special issue for some reason. Quite often the best papers are published in a journal, and one of those journals is the Government Information Quarterly, published by Elsevier. Once again, so who are the participants? So theory, and when you talk about theory, normally we think about researchers, and researchers, we can find researchers in as academics, so people associated to some university, but it's also important, and is normally are present in the conference, in ICEGOV conferences, what I'm calling here reflexive practitioners. So practitioners that are not just happy of doing things, they reflect on what they do, and well, they had training on research because they have a master's degree, they have master's degree, sometimes they have a doctoral degree, so they have some training in doing research. They apply that research skills on what they do, and I think reflexive practitioners are an important presence in ICEGOV. When we focus on the practice dimension, okay, once again, the researchers, and also again, academics and reflexive practitioners, but we have a large variety, high variety of participants. So the presence, official presence of governments, but and their officials, policymakers, elected representatives, There are international organizations, representations of the civil society, educators, innovators, industry, so companies, and particularly technology providers. All these people see interest in this area of digital governance and have some stake on it and come to the conference to participate in the presentations, in the debates associated to those presentations. ICEGOV, as any conference, includes several activities. So the paper presentations, of course, is one of the main activities, but there is also a doctoral colloquium, there are keynote speeches, there are workshops and other activities. And of course, as any other conference, it is a space for networking, for community building, for collaboration, for establishing partnerships, for reviewing old friends. All these happen in a conference, and this is the role of a conference in a community and in the process of creating knowledge, scientific knowledge, and especially in this case, knowledge that is supposed to be applied. Let's focus on the paper presentations. Due to this combination of theory and practice, in terms of papers, there are three types of papers, let's say. There are 10 thematic tracks. Oh, this refers to the 2025 edition. Could be less, could be more, and normally it's around this number. So 10 thematic tracks. Then there is a practice track. The name is Governing Digital Economies, Public-Private Sector Perspectives. And then there is also one track for early stage research and innovation dialogues. So this officially is the early research track. Is a space for presenting new ideas, bringing up new discussions. If you go into the ICEGOV 2025 website, you can see this table. So there are this is presented as three categories: research, ongoing research, and short papers. So short papers apply to the track 10, public and private sector, and to the early research track. And for the research articles, they are either research or ongoing research. So different limits to the number of pages for each of these categories. This table illustrates that the short papers are for these spaces of bringing new ideas and for work that, well, I'd say that doesn't follow the expected elements of a research article, but they bring up issues and they are spaces for sharing problems, opportunities, research problems, research opportunities. So I think this combination is important. So research papers, so something with 8 to 12 pages, involve a 15 minutes presentation followed by questions and answers. Questions and answers is a key aspect of a conference. Ongoing research papers, so shorter papers, but also with 15 minutes presentation and as well the questions and answers. And the short papers. Short papers are not less important. They are not so big as the others because they don't need to abide for some requirements that must be in the others, but they also involve a poster. Posters are elements, something that enables the ideas to be present all day long, all conference long, so are permanent on display, and this is helpful for sharing these new ideas. Anyway, there are moments for presenting these these shorter papers with less time, so 10 minutes presentation and questions and answers. Okay, let's focus on the review. First of all, we can you can look at the review as the control moment of a conference. There is a submission and there is feedback of the reviewers, yes or no. You can come in, you cannot come in. But it's much more than that, because the quality of the papers will improve based on the feedback from reviewers. So when participants will be listening to the presentations and reading the final version of the papers, they have been enriched with the feedback provided by the reviewers. And of course, the feedback from the participants is important for the authors to typically a later submission to a journal. And I'm not including everything here. I'm just focusing on these aspects, because this is much broader, because these are the conferences and journals are part of an ecosystem, the ecosystem of creating and validating new knowledge and contributing to better practices, contributing to evidence-based decision-making in government and in any other aspects of life. So when reviewing a paper, is important to be sure what kind of paper do we have in our hands. Is this a research paper, an ongoing research paper, or a short paper? There are different expectations for each of these papers. So in a research paper, typically we expect research questions or any other form of expressing the purpose of the research that is reported in the paper. It could be an objective, can be an opportunity. Research questions are a common way of doing it, and in the guidelines for the conference, it appears as the research questions. So there is inevitably a literature review that supports the state of the art and justifies why we should address this question and what is already known that can contribute to answer this question. There is a description of the research design, normally called the methodology, the framework, or the approach. And then the results, the findings, what has been found after carrying out the research. And then, the conclusions. The results should be discussed in relation to what is already known and its implications for theory and for practice. And in ICEGOV, it's particularly important to look into the implications for practice. In an ongoing research paper, is more or less the same, but this is ongoing, so there aren't yet any results. Well, perhaps some preliminary results. So the research questions should be there, the literature should be there, the research design, so the methodology, the framework, the research approach should be there. Perhaps no results or just preliminary results, but anyway, the conclusion should be the expected results. What is the expected impact on theory and on research, and on theory and practice. Things are completely different for a short paper. Well, should be some objective, should be some context, the circumstances or the situation that surrounds the paper content, some approach, some rationale that is followed, but there are no expectations regarding the same aspects as on research papers. So reviewers will have to follow a grid, and these are the elements in the grid. They are here listed in the order they are currently in the platform, in the EDAS platform that will be used. I don't know whether it will be possible to rearrange the order to be more closer to what I presented in this slide. But Is the paper irrelevant to the conference? Is it relevant to the track? If it's not, perhaps we can suggest a different track. Looking into the writing style, the writing style should be compatible with the article, so more freedom for short papers than for the others. The originality of the contributions, the literature review, or the context background. Okay, when we have these symbols, they apply either to the research papers or to the short papers. The methodology, the framework, the research approach or the approach, the research questions or the objectives, the results, findings, the conclusions, and then a final decision. Accept, do not accept, and a degree of confidence of the reviewer regarding the marks he has put in all these aspects. And then finally, the review. The review is, well, mostly directed to the authors. In some occasions, it might make sense to put some confidential remarks. These remarks will be accessible by the conference editors, but not by the authors. So in this table, these are the structured aspects. Okay, conference relevant. Is the paper relevant for the conference? And then there will be a scale that we have to choose one of these numbers. In this case, from 1 to 4, whether the paper is relevant to the conference or is relevant to the track. So when submitting a paper, the author selects one track. Sometimes, from the point of view of the reviewer, is not the best track, and can suggest that it can be a suggestion for another track. The writing style, the originality of the contributions. Okay, of course, judging the originality of the contributions implies familiarity with the field. So it's important that the reviewers are part of the community of the EGOV, of the digital governance community. Then for research papers, research-oriented papers, some rating on the literature review in a scale from 1 to 5, from poor or absent to outstanding. For practice-oriented papers, so tracks 10 and 12, so the short papers, it's the context background that should be assessed. So these two are alternatives. The same happens here. In this number 8 is about the research design, the quality of the research methodology, the research framework, the research approach. Here is more generic. Okay, when assessing practice-oriented papers, just a judgment, a rating of the quality of the approach followed in the paper. So what the rationale followed in the paper. Then once again, two situations where one situation where it's either the research questions or objectives of the paper that is being presented. Once again, the scale from 1 to 5. Results and findings, or well, what comes up from the paper, and this applies to both types of papers. And finally, also some assessment on the quality of the conclusions. The decision is either a scale from 1 to 5, from the strong reject, so from a strong accept, from the strong reject. I think this scale should be. I can't remember if it's my fault or it's still is like this in the EDAS. I think should be 1 for the strong Okay, it's I put in the wrong order, right? So the higher number is the strong accept. This should be reversed. The order should be reversed. The confidence of the reviewer. Okay, uh, self-assessment. I'm very confident on this or not. This will be taken into consideration when looking into different evaluations from different reviewers. And then we come to the important aspect, which is the review itself. So a detailed review that will help authors to improve their paper. And of course, it will also help track shares when deciding whether to accept or reject the paper. What is in the guidelines currently is that there should be a minimum of 1,000 characters, so around 250 words. We will go. I'll go a little bit on detail on this, and then okay, the confidential remarks. Sometimes it makes sense to put some remarks intended to the track shares and not or on the program committee, but not to the authors. I must confess that um, during my life, in many papers I reviewed, I never used this. Everything I normally say, I send it to the authors. I never saw any reason for saying something specifically to the track shares. But I admit that sometimes it makes sense. Salim wants to ask a question. Please go ahead, Salim.
Yes, I have just a comment, if you allow me. It's not a question, rather. Can I?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, regarding the quality of papers, I remember, I think it was in Korea 2011, I was communication chair of ICEGOV. And I've noticed that there are some complaints about which papers were accepted or not. Some professors who were there. So I took the initiative to invite them to, I think there were 6 or 7. One of them was from Moscow University, very outspoken, and they made a point which I couldn't disagree with. And then I had a talk with the organizing committee separately, is that the call issued the statements of the call for papers. There are so many tracks and so many general terms and so many things, such that the person who will going to propose a paper gets somehow lost, no matter experienced or senior he is. So I think maybe for the call, the impact, the call statements, the text of the call for papers, and the many themes, like trying to cover everything in the world, that is confusing, and that might lead to the quality of papers being presented. And the second issue, with just very quickly, I'm in. I'm communication chair with another academic conference. So I took the initiative to compare the papers and the comments in Easy Chair with the ones that were accepted last year. And I just finished last week comparing those with the current papers that we accepted, and we are programming them in the agenda in June. So I've noticed that uh, the people, the reviewers. So I took the name of the reviewers and went by who reviewed this person. And I found there is quite a big variation difference. The same person judging different papers, but the attitude the answers is almost the same: 3 out of 5, 2 out of 5, etc. So I think maybe the ICEGOV, we should look at convening or communicating with the people. We have the big list of the program committee for reviewers. This is why I have been away. I've been politely declining, in at least for other conferences, to be a reviewer, not because of time, but because I feel that the reviewing process needs to be maybe, so sometime you would consider for the next or now it is not too late, is really to select some people from the big list of the reviewers, just call them for a meeting like this one, exchange, listen to them, and listen to different ideas. That will help the organizing committee and the program committee for 2026 to have, let's say, more control over the quality of papers.
Thank you, Salim.
Thank you.
Actually, reviewing papers either in conference and journals is becoming an issue because, well, initially a few people were involved in this, but nowadays there are so many people that having some quality control on the reviews is becoming very, very difficult. I will show next some examples that highlight that and somehow justify this session to call the attention of this aspect. Look, that this session is not intended to be a course on our reviewing papers. There are several of these courses. You can also find some on the internet on some forum. There are courses. There are people talking about it. I am limiting myself to calling the attention to what aspects should be taken into consideration, and calling the attention of the importance of this aspect. Reviewing is a volunteer act. Salim mentioned that, so he's been declining. He feels uncomfortable with this. But look, the knowledge creation ecosystem is relying on this. So it's important, our contribution, our participation as reviewers, and that this should be done carefully. Perhaps we have to make decisions and perhaps accept less invitations to review and work hard on those instead of accepting many. But this is a quite important aspect. I think Raul Abril Jimenez wants to say something. Please go on.
Thank you, Joao. And congratulations for the initiative for arranging this meeting. I think is great. I want to share with you, colleagues, a concern that I have, and is on the originality of the works that they are submitted. I mean, you know that they are artificial intelligence tools today, and that they can create a fantastic job. And my question is if we could expect the reviewers, when we receive a paper for review, that it has been done some type of parsing, screening, whatever, checking the originality before it arrived to us. Thank you, Joao.
Okay, you mean some previous screening on
That's correct. That's correct.
On the originality in the sense it's not the originality of the ideas, but
legitimacy that it has been humanly created.
Human created, or if there are cases of plagiarism. I'm not addressing that aspect. Perhaps I don't know whether someone wants to say something about it, but perhaps in the end, okay. I'll mention here that there are aspects that can be automatically detected. Others are not, but is sometimes only detected by the reviewers. But let's proceed to the examples, and at the end, perhaps someone can say that whether that is included in the process. Okay, I'm going to show you some examples to highlight some aspects, and even to comment on the minimum size that has been imposed, And this statement that is in the guideline that the review should include comments for every category you scored before. Okay, let's move on. These are from ICEGOV 24, so 2 papers. Both reviewers are quite confident on their work. One suggested the acceptance, the other rejection. Well, this first example is to show that it's quite often reviews are very different and pointing in different directions. Sometimes the track shares have to go to ask for a third review or do it themselves in order to okay, what should we do here with so different reviewers. Look at in this case there is a suggestion for a different track. Anyway, the paper has been, the suggestion was to accept the paper. The review it's just recommending, oh, in the literature review that it was classified with rated with 2 points, including suggesting 2 new bibliographic elements. The other one, okay, is a little bit longer. Okay, let's go back. But okay, 2 typical reviews to show you the difficulties on doing this. Now to other reviews. This one, well, the reviewers are not so confident, but both suggest an exception. The first one is 300 characters, so 14 words. Okay, perhaps the only the methodology needs to be better explained and described, but okay, this is not very helpful. This should be more detailed. So the focus is on the methodology, which had a borderline, but there are other aspects that also got a borderline classification, and there are no comments on that. And even for the methodology, it's not very detailed. The 2 first sentences here, I know you can't read, but it's not important. The first 2 sentences here is about just the author saying what he understood, the reviewer saying what he understood from the paper. And I think this is important. Okay, what I understood is this, and based on this, here are my comments. So more comments are typically expected. So this is not helpful for the authors. So the review they are going to do the paper for the second submission won't help to improve the paper that much. And so the discussion after the presentation will be impoverished. Okay. This one, okay, 1052 characters, 145 words. Okay, a little bit better. Another situation where there are differences, an accept or a reject. This one has, okay, a longer review. But anyway, there is in this one, okay, I don't think this is the best tract. The author is saying, okay, I'm proposing to reject, but says, okay, the paper is good. It's not relevant to the chosen track of the conference. So there is, this makes sense for the confidential remarks to say, okay, I'm rejecting the paper, but it would be okay if it's in another track. 2 other reviews. One reject, I would say, well fundamented with many comments. Then an accept with 52 words. And look, it's good, it's relevant, it's good, and then okay, and well, this is an accept. But is there any, should be any detail? It didn't get top marks, so there are some sure comments that can be given to the authors to improve the papers. Okay, a longer review with a reject. Okay, yeah, it's a reject, but a reject with almost 1,000 words. So I guess that the authors have had a good feedback. I don't think that there was the reviewer was concerned on giving some comments specifically for each of the items that are under evaluation. But anyway, I think he or she covered most of the aspects that were considered important. This is for the same paper. Okay, it's an accept, but with a confidential remark. The paper is more a professional work. It doesn't know academic. It's not related with academic production, and this is the key aspect of the conference. If it happens that you receive a practice paper, it shouldn't be evaluated in terms of the research criteria and other aspects that were mentioned earlier apply, and it's important to take into consideration what type of work is this. As you can see, any conference, and this happens in any conference, conference chairs, track chairs have difficult decisions to make because sometimes the suggestions, recommendations are quite different from different reviewers. And the work of track chairs and conference chairs is particularly different when the quality of the reviews is bad, and sometimes they have to run, and the time for giving feedback and announcing the results is short. So sometimes it's necessary to go for a quick review from another person to compensate on poor quality reviews that sometimes appear. So take into consideration the type of work and do your best in terms of providing feedback to the authors, especially in addressing the weaknesses of the paper. Of course, it's important to try always to give some positive feedback. Sometimes it's not possible, okay, I admit. But calling the attention to the strengths, but especially focusing on the weaknesses and how they can be overcome. And that's all I had for this session. And I think other people can also take some questions and answering the questions that may appear now. Thank you for your patience on this and your attention.
Thank you very much, João, and colleagues. Now, please feel free. By the way, many thanks for starting already to share some questions or some opinions in the chat. But now we have at least a few minutes that we can use indeed to interact a bit. I may just say 2 or 3 things regarding the question raised by Raul Abreu Jimenez. Thank you very much again. And Flavia, my colleague Flavia, that is responsible for all this process, already shared with you. Indeed, we do that. We use some tools, of course, to do that. That is related with plagiarism. And more recently, in the last years, also the AI element and AI-generated content. So yes, we do that. The accuracy of the process depends on the tools that we use. Of course, if something is flagged, we stop, we decide. And when I say we, is the structure that is associated with all this process. So the track shares and the PC shares at the end is their responsibility. So they decide. But let me just add 2 or 3 things, if I may. That is, all these, and even this session and the other sessions that we intend to have in the future, have a main purpose that is indeed to ensure and contribute to the quality of the conference. So this is what is at the end, is to contribute to the quality of the conference. And we know that the quality of the conference may be achieved or is based on different aspects, but one of them, the core aspect, is the scientific quality of the conference. That is highly connected with the quality of the papers, but also with the quality of these processes about review. This is why this is so relevant for us. What we have been noticing, not just for ICEGOV, of course we are talking about ICEGOV here, but even when we participate in other conferences, because we participate as authors in other conferences, is that maybe due to the volume of conferences, volume of submissions, volume of everything, the quality of this process, of the review process, sometimes is not the one that should be. And this is what concerns us and why we have been doing this effort. In that regard, we decided to organize these sessions to call the attention of reviewers to the fact that we have indeed different types of papers, and different types of papers have different criteria associated or elements that we can expect, as João explained, to each of them. And so when a reviewer is reviewing a paper, he or she should have that in mind, because we can apply the same rules if indeed we are saying that we are expecting different things for the paper. And this is what João highlighted, and that is very relevant for us. But there is also another thing that I think we can do in what regards to improve the quality of the review. That is, until now, at least in ICEGOV, I'm talking about ICEGOV now, we have 3 reviewers. Each one of them does the review, and then we use the marks, etc., to decide about the papers. Of course, when there is discrepancies of analysis, someone attributes or assigns a value on one side of the scale and the others, we track shares discuss that, etc., but is what we do. We have been considering, and maybe we will try to implement this already this year, about the possibility of allowing some sharing and, let me call it, debate among the reviewers of a paper. That is, if we find, for instance, very different assessments for a paper, so instead of letting just the track shares decide on that first, and before moving the thing to the decision to the track share, why not to share with the 3 reviewers that we have a concern, because we found they may be possible. There's for sure that if they assign different values, there are reasons for that. But we are considering, because this is done in some conferences, not in a lot of them, but we are considering, again, thinking about to increase the quality, and not just the quality. Also, what the perceptions of reviewers about the the conference itself and the quality of the work that the conference does. Because sometimes I may have a reviewer that assigned a classification of tools or to reject or strong reject. And at the end, if we just do averages, etc., the paper may be accepted. It may be situations like this because the other two reviewers. So that reviewer is important, that reviewer understands why a paper that received a score, a very low score on his side. So thinking about all these, we have been considering the possibility of generating these very controlled debates, and it is not a debate, it's a sharing of opinions and of thoughts about that. We believe that the review process may improve with that. Even the work that reviewers do may be more rewarding for them because they are also learning and understanding the difficulty of this process. So this is something that I'd like to share with you already, and this is related with what Salim was asking, and he's concerned based on what he said, that is the quality of this. Okay, but this was just sharing some other elements with you, but please feel free to take the floor and to ask or to comment or to suggest.
I've been looking into the chat. Bushra called attention to an aspect that I didn't mention, and I should have, is the review process is a double-blind review process. This means that the authors don't know the reviewers, and the reviewers don't know who the authors are. Look, this is not the best thing in the world. It's like when we talk about democracy, is the best besides the others, if we exclude the others. Okay, there are people that defend that shouldn't be in a different way. I think for a conference is a good solution. This avoids suspicions that some authors are being favored or whatever. Something that can happen, and puts everyone more comfortable. We are common work from authors that we don't know, and that's the reason why some self-references should be excluded from the initial version of the paper, so the reviewers don't know the authors, and the author don't know who is going to review the papers or who had reviewed the papers. Flavia already addressed the question of the initial screening regarding plagiarism and use of automatic tools. Okay, it's not 100% effective. It also raises questions. What does it mean to prevent the use of artificial intelligence? And of course, there is one thing that is easy to answer. Okay, just ask an artificial intelligence platform to generate an article, and of course that makes no sense. But of course, there are lots of valuable uses of artificial intelligence that cannot be ruled out, and actually I think that should be recommended in order to improve the quality of research and the quality of papers. So still a long debate going on. Once again, I'm going to say that, okay, this talk today is not intended to be a course on reviewing papers. The expectation is that someone that went through a PhD process learned how to do it. Okay, it's true that at the end, some reviewers with a PhD do it better than others. That's life in everything else. But it's particularly critical, the people that didn't go through a PhD process, but is present here because as interests in in the conference topics. And this justifies perhaps a little, as Salim suggests, some recommendations somewhere available in the conference website.
Very good. Any other comments, suggestions? By the way, if based on experiences that you have with other conferences, you have other suggestions that you may want to bring for our consideration, feel free to do that. And not just today. You are part of this ICEGOV community. So if at any moment you see something or you remember something that can be relevant for us to improve all these processes around in the context of ICEGOV, we feel free to send. Okay.
So just to say that
Yeah.
I will produce a PDF of the slides and make it easily available, and the session has, I think, have been recorded, so this is to make available for reviewing or for others that couldn't attend. So once
Yes.
again, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, João.
Good job.
Thank
Good
you
job.
all.
Bye.
Thank you. It was really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye,
you.
João. Thank you. Bye bye.
Have a good one. Bye.